Now let's get right to the Texans. Right off the bat, you want to talk about Jacoby Jones.
Yeah, some of the things I've been hearing a lot of negative talk about Jacoby Jones. He's not this, he's not that. You know what? Nobody expected him to be Andre Johnson, even when Andre Johnson's out. I believe the reason Jacoby Jones was awarded that 3-year extension before the season started was because of his versatility. He's pretty good at a couple of things. He's a pretty good return man. We all know what he did as a rookie in the preseason, taking all those punts to the house, but he's still shown that explosiveness. He had a 33-yard punt return this past game. He added another 59 yards in receiving. I believe you're getting what you paid for with Jacoby Jones, and I like his versatility. I think they should also try to utilize him in the kickoff return.
I do too. I think it's also interesting that they go to him like on the first pass play of a series, and to get him into the flow of the offense. Right. I wish they'd go to him a little bit more. They tried deep and just overthrew him. I think people have higher expectations of him than the Texans do. They want him to be consistent. Now, everybody, including the Chronicle and Chron.com, and we have midseason all-pro teams, I think that it should be unanimous in the NFL if people are paying attention who the coordinator of the half season is. Now, who do you pick?
You know what? Let me think about that. Could it be somebody here in Houston named Wade Phillips? Absolutely. When you look at what this defense wasn't doing last year, they were pretty much the joke of the NFL, and now he has them ranked number 3 overall defense. And what's amazing, he doesn't have his best pass rusher in Mario Williams. He's out for the year. Danielle Manning has been out for a couple of weeks and isn't expected to return anytime soon, but they continue to get better. Brian Cushing is now playing at an all-pro level after he had his sophomore slump, which we like to call it, in our second year. I'm just amazed at what Wade Phillips is. I don't like to give coaches too much credit because I know it's all about the players, and I also don't like to give coaches too much blame when things don't go right. But what he's doing, you have to take notice. You have to give him the credit where credit is due. Wade Phillips has turned around the entire defense, and not only that, he's given the offense faith in their defense.
30th last year, 32nd against the pass. This year, 6th against the run, 5th against the pass. That's an incredible improvement. They're allowing almost 9 points less a game now than they did last season.
And you look at the additions they made player-wise, they did bring in Jonathan Joseph, who's been a great signing. Danielle Manning's been a good signing. But other than that, besides the draft, it's not like they just overhauled the entire defense. So that's when you know you have to give credit to Wade Phillips and the rest of his coaching staff.
Now, we don't know when Andre Johnson's coming back. Andre doesn't know when he's coming back. Nobody does. It could be against Cleveland, could be Tampa, could be after the bye week. But you think it's not all bad that they don't have a go-to guy?
I don't, and you might think that I'm crazy when I say it's not bad that they don't have a go-to guy. The reason is they have multiple go-to guys. When Andre Johnson's out and you don't have that, quote, number one threat, number one receiver, with the Houston Texans, with what Kubiak does on the offensive side of the ball, any given person could be that go-to guy any week. This past week, it happened to be Kevin Walter. When they play Cleveland, I wouldn't be surprised if it's James Casey, if he has another game like he had against the New Orleans Saints, where he had 5 catches for 116 yards, or it could be Joel Dreesen. I mean, the list goes on and on. We talked about Jacoby Jones had 3 catches for 59 yards in this past game. It just doesn't matter because the play calling is on point, and time again, when you're watching the Texans, it just seems like their wide receivers are wide open. I credit that to very, very good route running, but even better than that, the play calling and understanding where the soft spots are of the defense. And once again, you know, you might think I'm trying to get back in the league giving all these coaches credits, but I'm not. That has to go to Kubiak because his play calling is amazing on the offensive side of the ball.
Well, you're making a lot more money now than you were when you played. Now, you mentioned James Casey. I have to bring up, I'm really proud that you and James were able to show up for work after what U of H did to Rice and Case Keenum. I'm sorry I had to bring that up.
We're investigating that. Something about that wasn't right, wasn't legal. We have our investigators.
I thought that was Rice's defense. Okay, now let's go to cut blocking. You got cut. You played 12 years. It's always the defensive lineman complaining about the offensive lineman. Texans never had a complaint publicly till they started winning. Now, Tennessee defensive tackle Senderick Marks complained. Jacksonville, Terrence Knight, defensive tackle. Jeremy Mincey, defensive end. Now, Jack Del Rio said, I don't see anything wrong with it. They play the way they've always played. Why is it all of a sudden players are speaking out?
Because it's just a new type of player, you know, and I'll get back to the cut blocking, but when I played in the 90s up into 2008 when I retired, guys just didn't complain publicly. It's just a new new era, new type of player where they cry. I hated going against the cut blocking, not because I thought it was dirty, but it took the aggression out. You know, most of the time when you're going against a traditional blocking system, as a defensive end, you're just thinking get upfield, hit the guy in front of you, you know, overpower him, use your speed and explosiveness against the offensive lineman. But if you're doing that against a cut blocker, they just go straight to your knees. So when you're trying to shoot upfield, they're going straight to your knees, and you're sitting there eating dirt. So it makes you less aggressive, and you almost have to wait and react. And guys like myself, we don't like to do that. Guys who like to get upfield don't like to do that. So it's frustrating, but I don't understand the complaints. It's not dirty. The only time it's dirty is when you're engaged with one offensive lineman, then another offensive lineman comes to cut you out, and that's illegal. They'll call that, and they'll throw the flag. I don't understand why these big, tough defensive linemen are complaining to the public or crying about it. Just defeat it. There's ways to defeat it. You know, it's not like every zone blocking team wins the Super Bowl every year, so it can be stopped. It's up to you to do it.
Now, what do you do if a guy cut you and you didn't like the way he did it and it wasn't called? How can a defensive lineman retaliate to make that guy think twice? Because you're saying when a guy goes up to block a pass, hit his knees, and he'll be less inclined to go up to block that pass. What do you do against an offensive lineman that's cutting you?
Well, if you feel like it's cheap and you don't like the way he's doing it, I'm just going to speak real with you, whether you like it or not. When he's on that ground and you're on the feet, you accidentally step on his back to get to the quarterback. You might accidentally step on his fingers or his head. You know, that's how you combat it. You don't wait for, you know, Hall of Fame sports writer John McClain to come into the locker room after the game and start crying and complaining about it. It's football. It's football players. You take the hockey mentality and you say, you know what, if the refs aren't going to call it and we feel it's cheap, we're going to take it into our own hands.
I respect Jack Del Rio a lot more for not backing his players and coming out and basically telling them to play.
Well, he played. He's a tough guy.
He is a tough guy. When you play, it was a gray area. Now it's black and white. It's clear what you can and cannot do when you're cutting. But I think, and do you think going on, we're going to hear more complaints as they continue to excel through a weak schedule?
We will, just because, like I said, the players have changed. You know, now they complain. And you know what? It could be because of the fining system. Back when I was playing, especially when I was playing in my younger days, early 2000s, late 90s, the fines weren't as extreme as they are now, so we could handle that and take care of it on the field. But now if you retaliate or you take care of it, you have a fine for $50,000, $60,000 in the mail on Tuesdays. So that may be part of the reason why they don't take care of it on the field and they just cry about it.
While I got you here, I just thought of a question I want to ask you that we haven't gone over. Anonymous quotes about players. I've never do it. I've used anonymous quotes in news stories, but I hate it, like unnamed players blasting Tim Tebow. To me, if a player doesn't have the guts to put his name on a story, don't be going to the media whining about somebody. How do you feel about anonymous quotes?
I'm with you. If you can't put your name, if you can't sign it, if you can't put your signature next to it, keep it to yourself or talk about it to your buddies or off the record. But don't say, hey, I want to tell you something, Mr. McClain, and it's okay for you to print it, but don't print my name. That's a coward's way out. And like I said, it's a new era and it's a new player.
I used to have players come to me at the Oilers ask me to do that. I say, no, you put your name on it, I'll write it, but I'm not going to do that because it's not fair to the guy you're ripping up. Right. And I still believe it. Now, the Texans could not beat Vince Young. Can they beat Colt McCoy and the Cleveland Browns coming to Reliant Stadium with one of the worst offenses and probably Chris Ogbonnaya is the starting running back?
Well, the question isn't can they beat Colt McCoy. It's going to be how many points are they going to beat him by. And, you know, I'm a Colt McCoy guy. During the draft, I wanted them to spend a second-round pick on Colt McCoy because I think it's very important for your backup quarterback to be a capable quarterback to where if your starter goes down, you're not thinking the season's over. So I was pushing for Colt McCoy. But with what the Texans are doing on defense, with Wade Phillips play calling, Colt McCoy still learning. They don't have a chance. He will not have the same magic, Longhorn magic, that Vince Young had against the Houston Texans.